Okay.
All right, I'd like to call the February 12th, 2024 Forest Grove School District Board of Directors meeting at 5:30 p.m. We'll start with the roll call. Let's start online with Brad.
Here.
And Christy Cockey is here. Kate, I'm here. Mark?
Yep, here.
Nate, not here yet, and Val is absent tonight. All right, I'd like to have everybody rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so with these introductions, I should mention that John is here and Dave, I believe, is online, and I'm not sure if he's online. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Dave, are you there?
Yep, I am here and I can hear you.
Okay. And for introductions tonight, just in the honor of Valentine's Day week and the theme of love, I think when we say our introductions, if we might be willing to, just like we do in the classroom, you have an option to pass, also say the name of a favorite artist or band, song or artist or band, one of your top 5 that comes to mind. And we'll start up here, even though we all already did the introductions. John.
Oh, okay. Let's see, John O'Neill, favorite artist. I'm thinking Fleetwood Mac as of today, and Don't Stop Believing.
Okay, and you don't have to list the songs without bonus points. And I'm Christy Cotton, and I will say Earth, Wind, and Fire.
I'm Kate Randusky, and I'll say the Beatles.
I'm Mark Everett, and I'll say the Counting Crow.
Kathy?
Okay, I'm Kathy Bonson, and I will say Fleetwood Mac also. But Don't Stop Believing is Journey.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, right.
All right, we'll go over to Sarah.
I'm Sarah Field, I'm a parent, and I would have to say Judy Garland is my favorite.
I'm Ricky Carter, and Kathy just made me nervous with a call out. I'm gonna say I really enjoy The Doors. It's a band I always like, so I'm not gonna name a song, because I don't want to get it wrong. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you.
I'm Elizabeth Moore, a teacher at Carmel College, representing FGEA tonight. And I listen to a lot of Zach Brown Band over the weekend, so I'll say Zach Brown Band.
I'm Lindsay Slick. I'm a teacher at Common Call and at Union Rep as well. And I'm just gonna say Usher today.
Me.
Enrique Pinion, and I'll cheat and say 2, Taylor Swift and Post Malone.
Melinda Fisher, community member, Tom Petty.
Joyce Sauer, Gales for president, and probably Bing Crosby. I'm going back a long time. And I don't have a favorite song.
Mark Hughes, I'm your facilities manager. I'd have to say George Thorogood tonight for 1 bourbon, 1 scotch, and 1 beer.
I'm Tim Shear, Director of Student Services, Depeche Mode.
Eileen Flute Business, and I'm gonna pass.
David Warner Communications. I'll go with Enrique. I've got 3 daughters, Super Bowl, Taylor Swift.
Okay. And we had 1 person come in.
Tina, Darren. Oh. Taylor.
And then on the line, we have
Brad Bafaro and James Taylor.
Kathy called it, and Dave.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Not know that, Dave. All right. Okay, so I would like a motion to approve tonight's agenda. So all in favor?
Aye.
And then I'm going to read just a little bit about the where we are in the process of superintendent search. At a special board meeting February 5th, 2024, the board approved the next superintendent ideal profile, qualifications, and criteria. This serves to identify the specific criteria human capital enterprises, consultants for our district, will use in recruiting outstanding prospects for the position. The board will also use this as a key document in our deliberations in the selection phase of the search. We appreciate everyone who took the time to participate in one of the focus groups or take the online survey. The application window will close on March 4th, 2024. Updates are available with timelines on the district webpage. And with that, Nate is not with us tonight for student representative report. Do we have any recognition items? And superintendent report.
Okay, excellent. Lots of things going on. Let's see, so as the board knows, we've been working on instituting a new mentor teacher program. We identified mentor teachers and we held a planning organizational meeting, and we are now communicating that program. And tonight we held our new advisory teacher program to support BIPOC teachers in the district, regardless of where they are in their career. And this is in support the goal for retention of our diverse teaching population. State cheerleading competition. Forest Grove High School team had a very strong performance at state, probably one of the best performances in history, placing 11th. Also, congratulations to our boys and girls basketball teams as they swept Glencoe last Friday night. And then congratulations to our girls wrestling team for taking third at regional this past weekend. State qualifiers are Renee Cook and Blisley Izquierdo. Both took second, and Crystal Gonzalez Mendoza took fourth. Kalia Takahashi and Kennedy Blanton were both champions, with Kennedy getting an outstanding wrestler of the tournament. Great news there. We'll be hosting a boys wrestling districts here this Saturday. State swimming will also be happening this weekend, this Friday and Saturday at Tualatin Hills Aquatic Center. This last Saturday, we held Forest Grove High School the winter formal dance, and it was put on by our Latinos in Action student club. And this year's theme was Masquerade, and it was attended by approximately 400 students. A great event. Forest Grove High School Viking Theater is producing La Gringa, which will be opening in late February with performances in English and Spanish, alternating throughout the performance. And performances are on February 23rd, 24th, and March 1st, and March 2nd at 7 p.m. with 2 matinees on February 25th and March 2nd at 2 o'clock. Also, there's some additional calendar notes for your review. And that concludes superintendent comments and calendar events.
All right, congratulations to all the students and the teams representing across the board in multiple areas. And we'll hope to see the wrestling meet this all day Saturday.
Yep.
People coming for that. For unscheduled public appearance tonight, we have, well, FGEA, I could be wrong. I thought Diana let me know that there were, yeah.
Okay.
They're here listening. They're gonna take a little night off tonight, but they're never really taking a night off, they know that. So, all right, unscheduled public appearance, we have 2, and I'm gonna read just a little reminder about that. The board appreciates committee members sharing a public comment. Public comments will be made in person or submitted through the designated form on the webpage to be read by district staff or registered Zoom participants who indicated through the form they wanted to provide their comment live. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, as is the protocol for board meetings. Public criticism or complaints about school district personnel are not allowed at this time. So we have 2 tonight, Melinda Fisher and Joyce Sauber, and let's start with Melinda. We'll have you.
Can she go first?
Let's start with Joyce. Joyce is the boss. So Joyce, come on up and introduce yourself and your address. John is maybe gonna have to
Off of you.
Nice.
Very top.
Is it on? Okay. My name is Joyce Sauber. I have lived across the road from the Galesburg School grounds in Oak Grove Academy for 61.5 years. Prior to that, around the corner. I am a third generation Gales Creek resident. My daughters were 4th generation to attend Gales Creek School, which explains my passion and interest in the school. Kate Grandinsky and I met with Krista Slaughter, principal at Oak Grove Academy, and Elaine Klutz, business manager for Forest Grove School District. A meeting I thought was to talk about possible new playground structures. As we walked onto the playground, Krista said, the present swing set by the two-room school building has been listed as unsafe. It is too close to the fence and back blacktop with and overhanging tree limbs. The swings have been in that spot for 75 years. The trees have not been trimmed in years, and they're outside the fence. Next, we were told the present play structure needs some repairs and will be replaced. A picture we were shown looked like a large balloon in the center with a slide on one side and a snake-like object in the other. I have since learned nothing has been selected. $10,000 and $100,000 for replacement was mentioned. I'm not sure if this is for repair or replacement. The present play structures were selected by former staff, parents, and students at Gales Creek School, selected for safety, physical, and mental stimulation, paid for, installed, and approved by paid for by the Gales Creek community parents, and installed and approved by Forest Grove School District. Since we don't have a public park in our families, Gales Creek Valley uses the school grounds as our park. Evenings, weekends, summer days, and all ages are on the playgrounds. Unfortunately, so many things have been neglected, damaged, or destroyed since 2011, 12 and a half years ago, when Oak Grove School was no longer, when Gales Creek School was no longer an elementary school. Our building is now occupied by 20+ students, 7th through 12th grade. Some students from outside our district. Students this age group usually have PE classes and outside sports, not recesses. Nothing on our playgrounds at this time is available to this age group. Number one, our beautiful 6-foot wide track is now 2 feet wide, overgrown with grass and weeds, many holes, has only been wood chipped once since 2007 when it was built. Soccer goals, one gone, one rusted, no net, 2 baseball fields, only with black backstop remains. Basketball hoops on playground, 1 destroyed, 1 rusted, no net. We need to restore these items before we take away present structures. All playground structures, the track, Gainer's Garden, with the exception of the greenhouse, everything was paid for and installed by our parents, not by the school district. So we have a lot of good feelings about what we did in the community. I thank you for listening to my concerns. I do have some pictures that I would like to share that Melinda and I took, and also some that I will display on the table for later on. Thank you for hearing me tonight. Kate and I appreciate being allowed to be in the library every Thursday night from 6 to 8 o'clock for our community. We've been doing that ever since our school was closed. You can go to this one. Sure. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy.
I'll put a couple more over there on the table that you can look at also.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Melinda, question. Here.
I'm Melinda Fisher. I'm a community member and I raised 2 kids through the Forest Grove School District. And I went through the Forest Grove School District myself.
Can't hear.
I'm here to support Joyce and I would like to really not replace the big play structure. It is less than 20 years old. A lot of volunteer hours went into that and it would just be a shame to take away the play structure that the local community kids use quite often. Like Joyce said, we have no parks in Gales Creek, so we use the Gales Creek School as our park. Instead of replacing the play structure and spending a lot of money on a new one, I would like to see maybe the existing one resurfaced as needed, repainted as needed. There's a lot of other things that could be done at the Gales Creek School that need attention. Joyce brought up a lot of them. There's also 2 trees along the west boundary that are dead, and I would think those would be a liability. I think we should get those out of there quickly. They're kind of by the baseball area. Be nice to refurbish the baseball area. When my kids were in Little League baseball, we did use Gales Creek School as a baseball facility to practice. because a lot of the fields in town got crowded. So it'd be nice to revamp that up, spend the funds there so that all Forest Grove kids and Gales Creek kids could use that baseball field. A big thing that I think we really need to focus on is the track. The track was built in 2007. It was 6 feet wide when it was installed. And like Joyce said, there's holes. I walked the whole track on last week. There's holes. It's 2 feet wide in some sections. The grass is overgrown. We don't have a place to walk. If you get on Facebook, a lot of local people are asking, where can I walk? And the track really isn't a safe place to walk anymore. And it wouldn't take that much to really rehab it and make it a place for people to come and exercise. I do want to say thank you very much for the recent pruning that was done. Lots of nice pruning done at Gales Creek School. It looks so much better. In today's throwaway society, I'm just asking that we please not tear down our 20-year-old beloved play structure that's being well used by local kids, and instead reinvest in resurfacing it and rehabbing it as needed.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. You know, I was really appreciative of Faith Carter and Eileen to reach out and ask input. I really respected that. And, you know, we had no idea, Joyce and I, we met with Eileen. And, you know, and I think Eileen talked to Joyce, and the final structure isn't the one. But when Joyce and I went back and thought it over, is most of the kids there are seventh through 12th grade, and they could really benefit from a track, you know, to walk. And we talked to some of our community members, and one of the thoughts was, Eileen had said that there are some repairs that need to be done on the play structure, and she said approximately, okay, not $100,000, and so, and that was, you know, a rough estimate. It could be less, it could be more. And so we thought it over. We thought that perhaps maybe repairing anything that was missing or painted on the play structure, you know, would it be $10,000? Could we estimate and find out what the cost would be? And the remainder or part of the rest of the money, we could do something to improve that track. That would be really beneficial for the kids that are already there at the school. They could use that track. It's a beautiful setting out there. They could use the track. And then a couple other things, you know, we could add depending on what the cost was. But I didn't want us to rush in to tear that other structure down, because very few people except for our community are using it. And I don't know, but I'm estimating that it wouldn't cost more than $10,000 to fix up the current one. And the community members have suggested that we have a lot of people that are in construction, et cetera, that we could partnership and get people to donate, to put in. There's people that we know that live at Nike, that work at Nike. Nike might want to do a grant, and instead of putting bark dust, which you have to replace and it's very expensive, I know that I think Krista said that it was $7,000 for the last bark chips that were put down, and that's a big chunk of money. That maybe we could put some kind of pad, and Nike would work with us. So anyway, what I would like us to think about is looking at some other options, so that we're meeting the needs of the kids at the school, and also that we don't just tear this structure down. It looks brand new, and there hasn't been any, and it hasn't had the wear and tear of other elementary schools, because there's no young kids there. I mean, since, 2011. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Okay, so next steps, just with public comment, when we hear some questions in there, some suggestions in there, some comments with Kate, just so you would know, next steps would be that John.
I would bring this back to the Parker superintendent, and we'll discuss this in cabinet and identify a response.
Any questions about follow-up? Thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay, the consent agenda. Hang on, wait, the consent agenda is made up of routine, non-controversial items to be voted on under one motion. Are there any items within the consent agenda that a board member or the superintendent wishes to discuss separately? I'm just gonna, anybody online know? So I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Yeah, move that we approve the consent agenda.
As presented, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passed. A vote for. Do I need to say one? 0? No, what's going on? Okay. Presentations?
Yes.
Okay. Presentations. Whew. All right, district climate survey summary. John is with us tonight. It's much easier. I really have an appreciation for Val. It's much easier to sit next to Val and just watch someone else go through it correctly, and then I don't always look kind of, it's all good. Okay, John's gonna talk about the climate survey results summary, preliminary summary, and then next steps, so what happens next?
Yes, so Enrique, thank you. We'll go ahead and present for the audience. We have a brief PowerPoint presentation. The district administration and school board both wanted to collect feedback from students, staff, and parents as part of our school and district improvement efforts. Prior to the pandemic, the district administered district climate survey results every year. In response to resurrecting these surveys, a district climate survey committee was made up. A district climate survey committee was made up of school and district administrative representatives. Both.
Don't you need that to report?
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Brad, can you hear John?
I can hear him.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. At tonight's meeting, we're going to review the summary results from district climate surveys from the parent, classified and confidential staff, and licensed staff surveys, sharing key areas of strengths and areas of improvement. And we'll provide open-ended questions that have been analyzed and summarized. And we're not done with that process. This was a short turnaround time, so we will give that information both to the board as well as on our district posting. So tonight's presentation, just looking at the results for parents, classified, confidential staff, and our participation rates. So for parents, we had 500 parents participate this year. We opened up the survey twice to get as much participation as possible. In 2019-20, we had a few more parents participate, 646. Licensed staff, we had 85% of our current licensed staff, with 316 staff members responding. And for classified, we had 306, or 91% of our classified staff responding. I'm sorry, licensed staff prior. Classified confidential, we had 211 respond, 62%, compared to in 1920, 59%. So we saw an increase in feedback from our classified confidential. So in terms of our key takeaway, in terms of presentations, our parent climate survey summary results, what we did, I shared with the school board previously, broken down summary from grades 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12. That got really cumbersome for a short 10-minute presentation questions. So what we did is break it down for all parent climate surveys. So these questions are the ones that got the highest results. In terms of parent climate survey, I received district messages in my preferred language. 99% said yes. That's really, really good. It's really strong. And I want to point out 1920, we didn't ask that question. So the district climate survey committee made up of school administrators from every level, Kate Grandusky, board member, Christy Cottke, board vice chair, and both union presidents. They wanted to drill down in these areas. So when it says NA, we just didn't ask those questions before the pandemic. My student needs to attend school each day to make progress. 91% of the parents agree with that statement. I feel welcome at school. Again, 91%. Pre-pandemic, that was 95%. Teachers and staff believe all students can learn. 91%, up from 87% in 1920. Within the last year, I've attended a school event, 90% compared to 86% pre-pandemic. Teachers and staff care about my students' academic progress, 88% versus 91% previously. And my students like his or her school, 87%, down a little bit from the pre-pandemic. The bottom 7 questions with the lowest percentage positive responses. Within this last year, I have volunteered at a student school, which is interesting to this because if you read that question on the top, within the last year I've attended an independent school, it says 90%, but Enrique, is it able to forward one? Oh, there we go. Thank you. And then when we get to this question, within this last year, I volunteered at my student school. So that's 40%. We didn't ask that question, but again, we wanted to drill down. What does that look like in terms of parents being on campus and what are they doing on campus? The next question, there are multiple opportunities for parent involvement in school, 72%. Right there, that is an area that's in alignment with our goal 3 of our strategic plan. That's an area of growth that we really need to focus on. And how do we better get multiple opportunities for parent involvement, communicating those opportunities, and pursuing volunteer opportunities. The district provides enough opportunities for parents to engage with district and school leadership. That's 72%. Again, that's a new question this year. This school is preparing my child to be career and college ready. 76% this year, 1920, it was 85%. I am happy with my students' learning experience, 77%. That's a new question this year. And my students challenged academically, 78% of the parents felt that way, compared to 87% in 1920. And I feel my child's able to get the help from school when they're struggling to learn, 79%. And again, that's a new question. So those are the main takeaways, the top 7 responses that we received. Now for the classified confidential staff survey. Perfect, thank you. The top 7 questions with the highest percentage positive. I like my school, 98%. That's awesome. Work to do. We need that up to 2%. But I believe I can impact all students to become better learners. 97%. That's a new question. I feel welcome at the school, 94%, which is right in alignment with 1920. It was at 95%. I feel safe at school, 91%, compared to pre-pandemic 92%. And the principal and administration, that administration is like Tom McCall on up. They have assistant principals as well. So the principal or administration and or is visible and accessible on campus, 89%. That's well up from 83% pre-pandemic. Our school respects and honors the identity safety of all students and staff, 89%. Again, that's a new question. That's been an area of work with our equity work throughout the district. And I have the training and skills necessary to do my job. That's 86%, which is interesting because we'll get into a little bit drill down questions coming up that, okay, we've got some work to do. Yeah.
Did you mention what the kind of high confidential staff?
Yes, absolutely. So classified staff, we have primarily instructional assistants in the classroom, but also school secretaries. Confidential staff are more here at the district office, and they're individuals like program specialists for various programs. We want to be sure to include that feedback. So like Kathy Bonson, she's in that response as well as account confidential employee. So Anyway, thank you. Appreciate that. Any questions on that? So those were the top 7. Let's take a look at the bottom 7 questions. Now, this is misleading. I find my job boring and tedious. So that's low scoring, but we want that to be low scoring. Only 3% of our classified and confidential staff agree, and 97% disagree or strongly disagree. Yeah, please do. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna mention that the context of how that question landed on the survey is when we were in the planning, group, and it was the head of the classified union that.
Yes, Kent.
Kent, yeah, Kent had talked with classified staff in general, and occasionally, there's been conversations about work maybe feeling repetitive or not sure if they were being challenged maybe to a point where they were learning new things, and he said that was really the question they wanted to get at, and we kind of said, well, why don't we just put that question on there? And the other thing he talked about too was the wording of the questions, for his members, and he had members mention that we would really like some wording that was just ask us, right? We don't maybe need all the district speak embedded, and let's just ask the real question. So I really like that we could go there with that, and I think, I haven't heard his response, but it's very clear
Absolutely.
that they did not, so that's good
Yeah.
news, but you're right, it's kind of a reverse.
Yes, yes. The next one, I have enough time in my schedule to prepare for my students. That's scoring very low comparatively to the other questions asked, that's 64%. And I have the training preparation to deal with the challenging student behaviors. We drilled down in that professional development training. So behavior is something that we definitely want to take a look at. I can meet my job responsibilities within my work hours slightly better, 69%. Now, we know our classified and confidential staff work tirelessly every day, give it their all, just like our licensed staff. And we're very fortunate to have them, but it's important to get that feedback from them in terms of the ability to meet their job responsibilities within their work hours. If I want to become a teacher in this district, I know how to further my education. Again, another new question, but 74%, 3/4 know how to do that, but we have some additional communication efforts on my part and on the union's part, working collaboratively to get that word out there. And then professional opportunities are available to me, 76%. And then students treat other students well at the school, 76%. Remember when we showed the student survey, student versus student, that number was a lot lower. But still, that's one of our areas that we really need to continue to work on. We've made great strides with our social emotional learning. Student services has done an amazing job in that area, several others. And I think that's a testament, even though it's under the 86%, that's pretty significant coming 2 years out of the pandemic. So we have more work to do there. So in terms of the, licensed staff, top 7 questions. I like my school, upper percent, 96% of our licensed staff replied positive. I feel welcome at this school, 95%, better than pre-pandemic by a couple points. I believe I can impact all students to become better learners, 95%. Sarah Ogle, FGA president, wanted to drill down further to collect that information. So that's a new question this year. I provide ongoing feedback to parents regarding my student progress, 94% compared to 94%. And I feel safe at school, 92%, right where we were pre-pandemic. That is, again, a testament for ourselves, all the work that we're doing in the school district. We need 8% higher. We want 100% of our licensed staff to feel that way. But we're there in terms of pre-pandemic levels. Staff at my school welcome individual cultures and beliefs, 91%. That's particularly important with our increasingly diverse student population that we serve in our district. And then I know how to meet the learning needs of struggling learners in the classroom, 90% compared to 94%. So the bottom 7%, lowest percentiles. And again, we're looking at, given the expectations of my position, I'm able to set work-life boundaries. Perfect, thank you. Elizabeth. 60%, that's a challenge. I think with all of our, whether you're licensed administration, classified. But this was a question that, FGA and we really wanted to drill down on, because that's, area of challenge that we've heard. There are multiple opportunities for parent involvement at the school. Again, parent involvement, 64%, down 20% from 1920. And then this school's preparing students to be ready academically for the next level of instruction. That's 75%. Administrators in my school communicate in a clear, timely manner, 76%. That's a new question. And then students treat other students well at the school, again, higher than what the students reported, but down 3% from pre-pandemic levels. And then professional learning is relevant and is improving my ability to enhance learning in the classroom, 78%, concur with that. This one's down, and this is concerning. We haven't talked about this, and this is an area of focus as well. If I lived in the schools in this area, I would send my own children to the school. That's 79%, getting a group in today's society, or in our communities, get 80% agree on anything is remarkable, but it's down from 85% pre-pandemic. And a few years prior to 1920, we were in the 90%. So that's an area of focus for us. What are our staff saying to us in that reply? And how can we go ahead and enhance them? Why is it there? And then next, how principals and districts will use this feedback to inform our improvement plans. I will meet with each principal to review the climate survey results. We already met with the students, but we need to meet with each one individually, looking at their staff and parent survey results, as well as we have some open-ended comments. And to share that here would be extensive. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and consolidate and summarize that, but that will be posted as well. But we want to have those conversations with the principals. And then I have worked with them to identify areas of strength and priority areas of improvement for each school, and for them to share their results with their staff. What does this look like? And discuss this in leadership teams or building site council, to discuss, okay, here's our data. This is what we're looking at. What areas we need to drill down in? And it does vary school by school, to a certain extent, depending upon the questions. And that's important to recognize that as well. And then this data helps us inform our school improvement plans and the progress that we're making on school goals, as well as our district improvement and our strategic plan areas. So that concludes the summary overall of the information that we collected. I'd like to thank all of our teachers, classified and confidential staff, as well as our parents. We would like to have those questions that have NA that were passed for the first time. It'll be interesting to see what kind of games we can prepare next year for these kind of questions. So are there any questions or comments from Kate and Christy? You're on the committee as well.
No, I mean, I just, some of those were pretty interesting. And I just wonder how you're gonna collect more data. I mean, that's the question, but how? I mean, the ones, I have to be honest, ones I'm interested in are the ones about academics. And there are a number of them there that are tied to academics. And so, it's I'm concerned about interested in how you're gonna. I don't know.
Pull that out. Yeah.
No, you're gonna, I mean, that's the initial response, but what are examples,
Absolutely. And we're using that feedback. How does that inform job?
Right, how does it?
Goal one, our strategic plan. Absolutely. That's excellent. Thank you.
I'm okay, I don't have a comment at this time. I want to go with the rest of the data before.
Yep.
And I want to thank John. What people probably didn't see is John, there was like a rapid turnaround from John taking this massive amount of data that just came in, and we said, could you have something ready in this form, you know? And so this was, I know, just to get this summary ready in a short period of time was the first step. I mean, my comment would be maybe similar to what Mark's saying. I've said it before. I love that we asked some really tough questions and we were willing to ask the questions. And I love that we put up not only the top 7, but the ones that are challenges, that we're doing that publicly. Because that's just showing a vulnerability that I think builds trust. And we heard in the meeting, even when we were making the questions with the teachers in that meeting, saying, we answer these all the time. How do we know that it matters? You know, why should we take the survey? So I feel like this was a really good step in having people see that their questions were asked. To Mark's point, we know that principals will go back and in various ways, some are quantifiable, some are not, you know, use this to inform practice. I guess from a teacher point of view and a school board point of view and a parent point of view, maybe a check-in at some point with specifics around, maybe it's back to the board or just out to parents to say, here's the data, here's what we're doing, but then 3 or 4 months later, here's a couple things that we can tell are changing in the building. And maybe that's helpful for teachers to even see.
Yes.
And kind of help us be able to verbalize that and then sort of just do a check-in, like where are we with this? And make sure what we think is happening is still what teachers and parents are feeling is happening. Like we're doing all these things, but if parents are saying, well, I'm not seeing anything, how do we make sure that they understand the process of what we're doing? And so that final piece, I think of like, why should we take the survey again next year? So we want people they can't wait to take that survey because they know that feedback is going to be utilized. And I do think there's things on the deeper dive that aren't in the summary here. And that's tricky because we do know there'll be some actions taken around those that are positive. But I have full confidence that, that we're going to be able to get that kind of take it to the next level. So I'm really happy with the process.
The parent involvement is a real curious piece because, you know, on the one hand is, you know, teachers want parents to come into the schools and help. But, you know, the schedule is so tight that that's a hard piece. And so we almost, and that's also, I think, we did the collegial review is new community involvement within our schools. And so I think that might be a separate thing that we need to tease out and talk to the principals about what would the teachers like to see parent involvement in the schools. You know, because I know some of our parents have 2 and 3 jobs, but what would that look like? So we might need a separate group of people to try to tease out how can we get more parent involvement in the schools.
So, Dave here. Just want to point out that our strategic plan, goal 3 is all around parent engagement. Goal 1 is all around instructional improvement. So again, the work that we're doing is actually in the strategic plan. Now, these surveys are what we're using to say, is what we're doing working? There may be some things in the in the climate survey that we don't have represented in the strategic plan, and we'll need to adjust it. But I just want to make sure that like the work here is still the strategic plan, the initiatives that we've already started and engaged in. So.
And to your point, all of your point, people took the time to provide the feedback, and they need to be able to see that we're acting on that feedback and prioritizing that feedback. Excellent.
And thank you again for setting it up and working with both of us.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Brad, did you have anything?
No comments.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, John. We're moving on to a giant paragraph of policy updates. Thank you to Kathy Robinson for this agenda. And that's going to be a little bit of everybody.
I can take that one. Again, what you're seeing here is the last set of policy updates. We met with Kate and with Mark. We've gone through all of these pieces. There are some policies that we pulled out that we'll bring back to you that we still have some questions on, but I didn't receive any questions surrounding these policy updates. So I think we're ready to move forward unless there's other questions right now.
Any questions?
No, I think we did clarify it last time, you pulled some out, so we'll revisit it.
I could entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve the policy updates as listed.
And I'll second it.
All right, it says roll call vote. So Mark,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Motion passes 4-0. And next up with multiple pieces of information, it might be record setting tonight, is everyone's favorite director of finance, Eileen.
I think this might be a record setting for the number of action items. So tonight we're going to start with Dilly Elementary School, our bond construction contract. We went out for bid this winter and we completed the process and we received 2 bids, one from 5 Star Builders and one from Ross Builders. The scope of work in this is seismic, repairing the siding, exterior paint, painting the gym ceiling as a result of the seismic work. And then some interior health paint and repairs also as a result of the seismic work. So the bid with 5 Star Builders is $881,981, and they were our lowest. That is what administration has recommended to award.
I move to award the Dilly Elementary School construction project to 5 Star Builders for $881,981.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote. Mark,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right, motion passes. District copier printer RFP award.
Right, so every 5 years, we go out for a district copier and printer RFP, and this is how we purchase our copiers. And then they also do our maintenance and toner supply for all of our printers and copiers across the district. This bid, we ended up with 4 different proposals from Canon, CTX, Pacific, Office Automation, and Konica. Based on our evaluation, the terms and conditions, the equipment pricing, ability to meet our needs, and interviews with the top firm, we are recommending to award this RFP to Pacific Office Automation.
Okay,
I move that we award, a 5-year contract period with Pacific Automation, for the amount of $117,511.
second.
So second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roll call vote. Mark,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right, Neil Armstrong Middle School bond project guaranteed maximum price.
So this one is similar to Cornelius Elementary School that we brought a board meeting or 2 ago. When we have a CMGC construction manager, general contractor contract, before we have bid day, we set a maximum, guaranteed maximum price. So at bid day, we won't go over this and we won't set a contract with the firm over that amount. So the estimated amount is $9,199,212. And this is based on our budget, our work with our architects, our work with our engineers, our work with the CMGC firm. And so that is where we all feel comfortable, setting that maximum guaranteed price.
Question. So award the preliminary purchase agreement. So that what you just said.
It is,
Okay.
the estimated right now, what we'll set it at. And then we won't change it with you unless we see a major shift that's gonna go over this. So this will set the award, based on our estimate. And then if it goes over this, then we'll come back to you. But I don't see, we feel pretty good about this.
So can I ask another question? When would the work start?
So Neil Armstrong is gonna be over 2 summers.
Yeah.
We'll start the work this June. The first day staff are out of the building. We'll get the office vestibule and then the office move done this summer.
Yeah.
And then during the school year, they'll do the exterior seismic work, and then next summer, they'll do the interior seismic work. So
They built in any price fluctuations for that?
there will be some contingency built into this amount for unknown items that come up, but we'll set the contracts right now based on that schedule.
Because they could change, right?
It can.
In months.
Mhm.
Okay, all right, got it.
I just have another question. The ESSER funds, do they run out July 1?
ESSER funds expire September 30th of this year,
Okay,
And-
all of the ESSER funds?
all of the ESSER funds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so $800,000 of this contract is for HVAC work. And so another item, the next item on the agenda tonight is to use ESSER funds for that HVAC work.
Everybody? So I'll make a motion that, for the preliminary purchase agreement up to $9,199,112 with 5-star builders for the dam seismic and renovation projects to be funded with bond and ESSER funds.
A second?
Do I have to say discussion?
Sure.
Discussion? All right, roll call vote. Mark?
Yeah.
Kate?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right, ESSER cap.
So this next one is the elementary secondary school emergency relief grant capital purchase. This is in alignment with the prior action item. And ODE requires us to specifically get board approval to utilize ESSER funds on anything over $25,000 for capital purchase. And so this is requesting board approval to use ESSER funds for the Neil Armstrong HVAC upgrades.
This is item number 5, right?
Right.
So as I'm reading this, it says for, the capital project for HVAC upgrade at Neil Armstrong Middle School, but it doesn't say the other elementary school. No, so it's just for Neil Armstrong.
This is just for Neil Armstrong.
Okay, all right.
It's kind of tied with the previous.
It's tied with the
You're
bond.
Saying that
Oh,
out of the 9 million,
okay, all right, I got it. All right, I'll make the motion, to approve the capital project for HVAC upgrade at Neil Armstrong Middle School using the ESSER 3 funds.
Any discussion? All right, roll call vote. Mark?
yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Nutrition certificate.
Right, another component of the bond, as part of the bond was nutrition services equipment replacements. And so after the bond passed, we went through and did a full audit of all of our buildings and our kitchen equipment to make sure that what we had in the original bond is what maintains. And as you all know, when you make a list 3 years ago and you look at your equipment today, things change. And so we do have excess funds in our nutrition services account. And so we're looking at utilizing both those funding sources to be able to do all of the needs that came through with the assessment. And so this is requesting $492,050 with Rose's equipment and supply to utilize both nutrition service funds and bond funds. And the list of equipment was attached.
Kitchen.
It's replacing old kitchen equipment,
Right.
and then the other thing, it's adding combi
Yeah.
kitchen ovens in most of our buildings, so
Is that in all the schools?
all of the schools will receive something,
Okay, great.
except Cornelius.
So.
They'll receive it.
Yeah, they'll get some. Something else.
Well, maybe they like some new bowls.
I move to approve the purchase of kitchen equipment for $492,050 with Rose's equipment and supply, utilizing a combination of nutrition services and bond.
And I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, roll call vote. Mark?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Number 7.
Right? So it's that time of year where we look at how we're spending on our approved, board approved appropriations by major fund. And where we look today and what adjustments need to happen between now and the end of the school year. So this first one is a budget transfer resolution within the Viking House 550 funds. And this is just moving $5,000 from the facilities acquisition and improvement function to the support services function to support a scholarship, a Viking House scholarship that was awarded.
I move that, the school board approve the budget transfer resolution 23-24 R02 as presented.
Any discussion? A roll call vote. Mark?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
And I am a yes.
The next supplemental budget resolution is a result of both the Nan's Kitchen renovation that happened, was supposed to be done before June 30th, but it continued into the school year. So we have some capital expenditures that were in this current school year that were not budgeted. And then also the Nan's Kitchen, or not the Nan's Kitchen, but the capital purchase agreements that were just approved. So it's transferring in the 299 fund, $400,000 from the enterprise community service function to the facilities improvement function for equipment replacement.
Oh, okay. I move that the Forest Grove School Board approve the supplement budget resolution 23-24 R03 as presented.
Second.
Discussion? And roll call vote. Mark?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Number 9.
It is the last one. So lastly, we have a supplemental budget for the capital projects fund. So this is our bond funds. When we built the budget last year, we put the full appropriation expenditure in with the facilities acquisition. And now that we've gotten moving into the bond, we have support services expenditures. So moving from the 4,000 expenditures to the 2,000 expenditures. And this is to support both the bond accounting, bond communications, and then we did hire a facilities technician to help with all of our HVAC part of the bond. So it's $150,000 move from facilities acquisition to support services function.
I knew that Forest Grove School Board approved the supplemental budget.
Discussion? All right, roll call vote. Mark?
Yes.
Kate? Yes. Brad?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right, Eileen, everyone, let's hear it. Or as the kids do. The littles. All right, future action items, Northwest Regional Education Service District, John,
Actually,
and he's gonna pass it
Today.
to Dave and
That's-
Sky.
Yeah, that's going to be me. Tonight, I'm here to present the local service plan. Enrique, can you move forward? Each year, the educational service districts, their board has to approve it, and then 2/3 of all of the component school districts have to approve it. So tonight, it's first reading tonight. The next time it'll be an action item. And the next screen. Listed here is just kind of a table of contents for you as you're looking through the local service plan document, kind of a listing of where some of the things that you might be interested in are located. I'm going to keep moving. Some of the things that we do with the ESD is, as a larger district, we have a lot of built-in resources through special ed and the rest, but there's still things that we need and are better sourced in a larger with the ESD, and that we don't want to hire folks to handle every aspect. Administration, currently we have about $500,000 worth of grants that we use through them. Some of these are regional educator network grants, and there's many others that are involved here. The ESD also does our early learning, ECSE, evals, and enrollment, early literacy support, and the rest. They have a very, over the last 10 years, have built a very strong instruction department. So we have, we interact with their instruction department on several different levels. Special ed, we don't use a ton of services from the ESD, but the ones that we do use are really important. We have one student who's involved in a different social emotional learning school. We have 7 specialists support the districts with hearing and vision support services. One of the large services that we use is definitely technology. We don't host our own iVisions. The ESD does. We use a lot of, we have a lot of collaboration interaction around technology. Okay, one more. The way the money works is basically if you considered all the money coming in to the ESD $1, about 90% of that money comes back to the local district. And then 10% is given to the ESD to run their services. Now, of that 90%, 75% goes into our individual school accounts that we can utilize for and buy different specific services. This would be an example of if we're sending a student to a specific social emotional learning school, or whether we're using deaf and hard of hearing credits. There's a lot of different things that we can do service-wise. And then the other 25% we pay to the ESD as core services. These include the technology expenses and everything. Every district with the ESD just pays it as core services. There's a whole series of things. We're going to go into those, but I wanted to make sure people kind of understood how the money works with the ESD. This is kind of their timeline. I met in November with the ESD superintendents, and we looked at kind of the plan that they had for their local service plan. They've been doing some work on it. We're now in February, where we're trying to get these all of the boards of the member school districts to approve the local service plan by March 1st. Again, kind of some page numbers. If you're looking for the different types of core services, page 9. The menu services are page 12, and then 23. This is kind of new in the last 5 years or 4 years since the student investment account. Is they provide a lot of technical assistance to us around organizing, managing now student investment accounts, and now the whole integrated guidance piece. But you can find out more information about those. There's 2 pages here on this slide that talk about the basic breakdowns of money, but I'm just going to kind of, our county allocations are for Washington County are about $1.1 million. And then I'm going to have you go forward. Washington County, it's a little fuzzy, but the basic gist is in Washington County, about $9.7 million comes to the county. We put into our service credit account about $2.4 million that we utilize in various different ways. You can see the other amounts that the other districts around us also put in there. Core services, here's kind of an example of the different types of core services at the ESD. And this is, again, the 25% that every district pays to get access to these pieces. The county allocations, grant management, Forecast 5, help desk, library services, network security services. This is kind of a newer piece over the last 4 or 5 years. This has become a much more major part of what the ESD does, is managing kind of the security of our networks. Emergency closure network, the ESD collaborates with all of our school districts. Homeschool registration, that is fairly minimal, but you can see kind of what the core services are. Here's kind of an example of some of the different service menus that we can also get experience, or we can contract with them to get. We would pay this money out of that service account. Diverse educator pathways, we have several. We're involved with 2 or 3 different educator pathway programs. Fiscal services, so our iVisions comes through them. Human resources, we have collaboration there. Attendance services, we utilize grant management. We actually use their grant writer quite a bit. They've been instrumental in us getting multiple grants over the last 4 or 5 years. We'll keep it moving. K-12, you can kind of see all of the different types of special ed services are there. We have many of these built into our own system, so we don't utilize them necessarily, but we have options. Technology, again, I think some of the big ones here, Synergy. So they host our Synergy parts. They also do the Public School Works, which we use for staff training, our Canvas learning management system, help desk. You can see the other pieces there. They're adding a new one here, which is currently, there's a program that's going to be added this year called School Links, which is all around college and career planning for secondary students. And we've used another product that we haven't liked. And this year we're piloting this new SchoolWorks program, and that'll be a service that now people can buy through the ESD. We like where it's headed. It's been a little bit of a challenge to get it in this pilot year to kind of get it organized and get it going. Student success, technical assistance. So here's kind of the things that they work. We, again, you do a lot of this in-house, but it has been great to be able to talk to some folks who have some very, they work closely with ODE and have some really inside knowledge about reporting and timelines and how we need to go about doing some of these things. And so with that, pretty much this is, you've got the local service plan. Oh, I will say one more thing, which is the money. I don't have the exact numbers right now, but it does look like the ESD's prices are going to be going up. I think we're going to see that across the board because, again, a lot of the things that we engage the ESD in are people. And our labor costs are going up across the board. I think you saw in Portland, I think the next year's increase is 6%. I think we're seeing that kind of across the board. I will come back to you and give you some more exact numbers, but I think we can kind of count on seeing some increases in these services that the ESD is offering in the 6%, 8% kind of range. And with that, you've got the LSP in your packet. If there are questions, there's not a whole lot of changes this year. I think the only changes that I have, like from previous years, are really around, hang on. The School Links, they've added a phone technician, because almost all of the school districts are now running their phone systems through the networks. And so they're having to field a lot more questions around the phone. So in the core services, they've added some ability to do that. And other than that, it's for the most part, we're in the same, they're offering the same types of things. Questions that I can answer for you, or I can go back to any one of the slides too.
I have a question, Dave, a couple of questions. Mike's got it. Dave?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh. So the number, it looks like this year, is it about just under 2.3 million? Am I looking at this right for 23, 24 LSP allocation?
Yeah,
2.27.
It's basically 2.471 when I blew up that one little piece, but it's about $2.4 million.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's not, that's not on page 35 then, or maybe I missed that, okay.
is it, I saw, you know, we do this every year and I should know this, but I think I saw a 10%. The ESD, can you talk about the 10% that you have on the screen on one of your slides, the ESD?
Oh, correct. If you go back to, it's like the second or third slide. There you go. That one.
Yeah. Is that's not, they hold 10%?
Correct. Correct. So 10%
Okay.
of the total money goes to the ESD directly, and they utilize that
Okay.
for services. Then the blue part here is the 70%. That's the $2.4 million.
Okay.
That is what we actually use to pay for some of their services. We've also utilized this portion to do a lot of our, I mean, recently we paid for our lit adoption with that blue money there. We're also looking at continuing to do our adoptions through that money that sits in that blue portion.
Okay, and it is sort of a menu, right, Dave, that you know, in any given year, over a period of years, you could say, we're not gonna choose this off this menu this year or next year, right?
Correct.
And so okay, all right. And I know the answer, but cabinet goes through this and every year looks at it and tries to see if we can do without maybe and capture the money and maybe we can, right? So, okay.
Or
all right.
I think the other interesting thing here will be is if we're seeing an 8% increase, the question is, does it make more sense? I mean, for many of these things, we do them in-house, which is we have people in our organization who do this rather than, or is it more efficient to utilize the ESD for this? Like grant writing is a perfect example, which is, I think for us right now, it's still simpler for me to just simply engage their grant writer to write grants for us rather than hire our own grant writer.
Right, I understand. Okay. All right, thanks, Dave.
Yep.
I have one question. What about outdoor school? Do we, money come out of this for outdoor school, or is it that, oh, Eileen, go ahead.
Outdoor school, we do contract through the ESD for that, but we have the ESD bill us because then we have a grant that pays for it. So we don't actually use that dollar, the 75%. We don't use that for outdoor school. We use a grant for it.
Wasn't there something before the voters that approved, and is that where that money comes from?
Yes.
Yeah, and in the last couple of years, have we been able to pay for the kids to go out to school and we haven't had to pay out of the general fund?
Yep.
Oh, that's great, that's wonderful, thank you.
Any questions, Brad?
Nope, I got it. Good job, Dave. You didn't screw that up.
Was there a motion at the end then to, that's up on the future? Yeah, the motion, future action. Oh, that's under, that's why it's under future action. Okay, got it. All right, was that everything, Dave?
Yeah, again, as you go through and you read, if you have questions, send them to John or I, and we will get them ready for the next time we bring it as an action item. I can answer any other questions that you might have.
Okay. All right, school board updates. Just under future action, anything you'd like to bring up, future?
I would just say that the superintendent search is ongoing and, you know, will require more to meet a number of times and, I think it's in March, maybe. So that's all. I have checking my calendar, so it was posted.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I'm from Susan Cornelius, reading the pretenders and tenders. Tomorrow I'm taking my featherweight and, having the tenders, do Valentine's Day. Yes, so, and hopefully the fingers will not be.
Okay, of course I have a few things. All right, so, well, a few things have happened. You know, this is my only time to talk to the board, so I know people are like, why doesn't she just email? Well, we can't really do that. So this is why sometimes you get, this is gonna be old school Christy, just putting a bunch of stuff that's on this card. But So, I wanted to thank Janine Solomon for she had a community conversation. Sarah Fields, who was in the audience, actually attended, and there were two other people from Forest Grove. I don't know if they were school people or just Forest Grove people that introduced themselves and said they were Forest Grove people. And Janine really went through, what was gonna happen in short session. But what she did there that was really helpful, even for me, is they did a little tutorial, a live tutorial of how to not only pay attention, but how to submit testimony, where to go on the website, and really encourage people to, to look for the bills that you're interested in and how to submit the testimony. So I thought that was really helpful. And Sarah actually introduced herself and talked about her experience in the district, and it was very positive meeting and well represented by Forest Grove. So she is doing those on Zoom now, and so if you've not been to one of Janine's, and I know Susan McLean has them as well, we really want to encourage people to show up if you can. I did listen to the testimony of the Education Committee about a couple of the bills in the short session, and one was the House Bill for 4079, which is the 11% cap on high cost disability. That's just been raised up again. It's been raised multiple times. I had a really good conversation with Dave to try to get a little bit of the background. But what was interesting about listening to live testimony from that, there were superintendents, there were IAs from different districts, teachers, and parents who testified about the needs of districts who have above 11% and need that funding. But what was interesting about that is couple of districts talked about in certain districts, things that the legislators maybe weren't yet taking into account or needed to take into account. For instance, if there's a group home, there's several districts that have multiple group homes, students that are living in those group homes at school age are actually, then that funding is disproportionately which it should be to support those kids, but it's coming from that fund as well. I'm not probably listening to this and like getting it all wrong, but I'm coming at this from this perspective of being able to hear some of the solutions that people are proposing, and also the understanding that the cap just can't be raised without finding where that money is going to come. But it was my understanding that bill probably will not be passing this session, but they raised it. I think it was Courtney Neron that's bringing it to the floor to allow a chance for people to continue to testify and share needs and just move that forward, just baby steps. So I thought that was an interesting experience. And then and just a couple shout outs and thank yous. John Allen, principal at Dilly, Troy Fisher at Harvey Clark, and Tim Graham at Cal. And John O'Neill was able to take me around. There were a couple schools that I hadn't seen. I onboarded at a really different time, and it was hard to get in and just get the lay of the land. And so there were a couple schools I asked if I could go see, and all three principals said, yes, come in. But not only that, we really got a nice walkthrough and an understanding, spent some time in a few classrooms in Dilly, was able to look at the perimeter fence at Harvey Clark, was over at Cornelius and did a little book shelving with Kate. And so I really appreciated the time that I know really nobody has to do that, but it's very valuable to be able to put context with what we're hearing. And just a couple personal thank yous to a couple people who send out these newsletters. Christina Meineke, she sends her student success coach newsletter out, and today she sent one about the fact that it was 212, and she attached a little video about the significance of day 212, and the video was about how water at 211 isn't boiling, and then at 212 it boils, and her whole newsletter was about the theme of just doing that one little thing, and she pointed out several examples. And I mean, if you can look all in here, everybody is doing that one extra little thing and how it makes a difference. But just the time it takes to put that newsletter together, I actually forwarded it to my husband. He shared it with his kids today in middle school, and it's the ripple effects of that kind of message and time and energy that I think is very infectious. The second one is a person I haven't met, but it's Christine. Is it Dabbs? Christine Dabbs. The newsletter started coming to school board just recently, and again, just phenomenal. She's the PK4 student success coach, and I actually I get a lot of information from those newsletters and get a really good feel for the work that's been going on. Arturo Lumley also sends us updates about the work that's being done. So the board member, those things have a really big impact. At least I know I can't speak for all of us, but for me, those have been very meaningful. But the teacher that showed the most ultimate vulnerability, and I'm gonna end with this, was a teacher that emailed the board and said, I would invite you to come into my classroom anytime. It was Hillary Barraza at Fernhill. And I disconnected that Hillary from Jose, who I remember from Hillsborough. That took me a while to connect, but she just, and a friend of mine who's a teacher in Hillsborough said, that is really, when you think about it, that's incredibly courageous to email an entire board and just say, come in whenever. And so I did go in for math. I went in for math class and they came back in from specials and there I was sitting there and she said, well, I'm going to put you to work. And so I sat at a table with Damien and Vanessa, and I think it was Emma, and we tried to figure out how many people, if there's, 47 people and they're going to a concert, but only 6 people can go in the cars, what does that look like? But what was really amazing to watch is that we're talking a lot about student talk and student discourse. And so I have my teacher hat on, but I have my mom hat on, and then I'm trying to not be in the way and just help these kids. But there were multiple things that happened in that classroom that I don't remember really happening when I went to school, where the teacher knew the problem, here's the answer. And so what you saw was a really good example of structured, the framework that they use for PACs and how the systems that kids use to sit down at the tables, but then the time to think, and she prepped them really well. And then she had us have personal thinking time, which we were all drawing, and Vanessa and I circled our circles one way, and then we discovered, because then there was collaborative time, that 2 of us circled our circles the other way, and guess what? Both ways were okay. And as a person that used to teach little math, I almost wept, because here's this teacher telling the kids there's multiple ways to solve the problem and we want to talk about it. And I mean, I'm just not spending a lot of time in elementary as a middle school, high school person. I really am blown away by the strategies and I think people in the pandemic remember, parents saw how difficult it was to try to get one kid to focus, but to try to get, 25 or 27 of them talking about math and doing so in a really positive way. It was just really well done. So I appreciate her invite and encourage the board to take her up on, doesn't have to be math. There's all kinds of fun things that could happen in there. But so I really appreciate your time on that. And that there's more, but I'm going to stop because it's 6:52. Okay. I think, is that it? But there are these 2 things. So there's 2 pieces of information, but those are just for us. But I don't need to tell people.
No, it's just information.
Okay. Okay.
Christie,
And yeah.
can I have permission to put 4 posters out on tables?
Oh, joy.
If anyone
Of course.
wants to see
Yes.
of what I presented tonight.
Yes.
Okay, after the meeting, anyone
Okay, yeah.
can look at it.
Let me adjourn at 6:52. Meeting adjourned.